This chair is properly broken in for me. It's got a whole different feel.
Are you there for planning board meetings too?
Yep.
Nice.
Sometimes I just stop by on Saturdays.
Welcome to the Zoning Advisory Committee meeting of Hopkinton for, what's the date? March 4th. So today, I wanted to review some of the kind of action items that we left from last meeting, and as well as going through the planning board public hearing that was held last Monday, and just give you updates on the zoning bylaws. Some of you were there. But just to give you an update. So I'll start with that. There were several zoning articles discussed on Monday, February 25th. The planning board held a public hearing, and I'll just go through one by one what the outcome was thus far. So the temporary banners, as you may recall, we had proposed a larger size, and we had proposed changing the maximum days from 14 to 30. And we also proposed allowing them on all public ways. So the planning board did vote to send this one to town meeting. However, they made some minor changes. They wanted to keep the maximum at 14 days instead of 30. And they specified which streets would have banners, so it wasn't citywide, townwide. I don't know if you remember which streets were designated.
It was from 85 to 135 and West Main Street.
So yeah, it was probably a lot of the things that we were discussing, you know, here. Planning board just decided to make those changes for the warrant. The next one is the commercial solar voltaic installations. We had made some minor wording changes to talk about the screening. Effective year-round screening was the only wording we changed. And planning board decided to continue it until their next public hearing on March 25th. And primarily that was due to wanting to look at additional wording to add to this. Again, Elaine or any other members who were there, do you remember specifics about the wording that they wanted to add? I have some notes, but.
On the photovoltaic?
On this, yeah, solar pumps.
It was a big discussion
Yeah.
about from where we were looking and from what we were shielding and.
So there was some talk about, there's a term, whenever reasonable, structures should be shielded from view by, etc. And there was a discussion about striking that phrase. But town council was saying we should be much more specific and not make it as subjective. But the whole paragraph, you know, even though we added just one small phrase, the whole paragraph is fairly subjective and not very specific. So it would mean rewriting a great deal of the existing bylaw to go with that. So they did talk about adding earth berming to the last sentence. So methods such as the use of landscaping, natural features, and fencing may be utilized. They also wanted to add earth berming as a specific item. Which you know, is just a clarification more than anything. And other than that, Was there anything else, Elaine?
Nothing specific.
Okay. So anyhow, that was continued to the next public hearing on March 25th, which you're all encouraged to attend. Let's see, educational uses in industrial A, industrial B, and professional office districts. As you know, because of the Dover Amendment, educational uses are allowed everywhere anyhow. But because of that, planning board voted to remove it from the warrant. So they're not going to go forward with that. They just felt it wasn't necessary to put that in our bylaws.
And didn't want to put it, tell me.
Yep. Indoor recreational uses in industrial A and B districts. Planning board voted to send it to town meeting, however, they changed part of it, and they made it by special permit, not by right. So. The accessory retail to manufacturing use in industrial A and industrial B district. Planning board did vote to send that to town meeting, but with uses allowed by special permit. And there were just some minor town council wording changes as well. So, again, just changing a lot of the things from by right to special permit. Restaurants in industrial B district. It is, I don't know if this is, I have the notes correct. Okay, so we had proposed changing it to a by right, not by special permit, and they voted that down. So they're not going to send that to town meeting. So it is still allowed by special permit. That is the way it is in the bylaws right now. Car wash uses, there was a lot of discussion about the car wash, including about how to correctly word the sustainable use, water use and electrical use. And there was also discussion about removing it from the downtown business district, because, there was a lot of thought that we wouldn't want a car wash to end up there anyhow, and maybe industrial A is the better place for it, which is what, we were proposing to add as a possibility. But it has been continued to March 25th public hearing, so it hasn't been voted on yet. And I believe part of the reason to continue it was for you to determine whether or not they could add that much of a change. They could add the downtown business district removal as well as the current warrant. So, okay. Okay. The Osmond Overlay District, this has to do with restricted land use, very complicated legal thing. They wanted to specifically allow cultural educational uses, so we would be able to put a museum on a particular plot of land that's being designated as restricted land. And because the current writing of the bylaw doesn't necessarily allow that on restricted land. So that's what they did was they did vote to send it to town meeting, but they changed the wording, so it's only cultural uses, not educational uses. Again, that was probably to clarify it so it wouldn't be used for a school.
I think that was just them appeasing my paranoia.
Oh, yeah?
Because right before that, it says you can use it for municipal uses, which would allow
Which would allow schools, anyhow.
I think they were just trying to appease me. Because it didn't make any difference, whether it was cultural, educational, or just cultural.
Okay, and then the two proposals regarding the Osmond district, regarding senior housing development, and we talked about age restriction versus, the affordable housing that they need to supply. All of that has been, that actually was never on the agenda for 225. It's going to be discussed on March 25th at that public hearing. And so is the one about the live-in managers at the assisted living facility in the Osmond Overlay District. And that will be discussed on March 25th. And finally, the self-storage facilities that we did not vote for, but was sponsored as a citizen's petition. will be discussed at the March 25th public hearing. The sponsor was not in attendance at the time we got to it on the agenda on February 25th. Okay? Any questions, comments? No? All right. In addition, 2 citizens petitions have been put forward, which will also be discussed on March 25th, I believe. And these have to do with growth restrictions or phasing in town. The 2 were, I don't know exactly why the 2 were done separately, but nonetheless, here's the differences between the 2. The first one is a 1-year duration and applies to all new dwelling units. It essentially would restrict the number of building permits that could be done in town during that 1 year, to 12 new dwelling units and no more than 2 per applicant. So it couldn't be one development comes in and does 12 and uses up all the available slots. It was based on a similar bylaw from the town of Northfield, which was passed in 2013. And there's going to be, I'm sure, extensive discussion on March 25th. And again, I encourage you all to attend if you can on March 25th. The second citizens petition is a 3-year duration, and it applies only to larger developments, so subdivisions, garden apartments, village housing. It's not quite as restrictive in the sense that it says no more than 10 building permits for dwelling units in any 12-month period per large development. So it's 10 per developer, essentially. That's how I understand it at this point. So, and there's, of course, exemptions, grandfathering, for housing or building permits that have already been passed and approved and so on. So, do you have any questions about those? Any comments? Okay, so, and, hi, John. We've just been catching up on what the planning board did last week with our proposals and with other proposals before them, and then the citizens petitions that came through. I was just giving an update to people. Okay. So next on the agenda, and this is mostly Elaine to talk us through these. These are the spreadsheets on population, occupation, and commuting practices of the people in town. So this is the first few pages after the agenda in your packet. So could you walk us through this in terms of, what we can learn from it?
Sure. So the committee was interested in the context of looking at business district zoning and so forth, and the uses that are permitted. The committee was interested in looking at what the characteristics of Hopkinton residents are as far as what people do for a living, what industries they work in, and commuting information. So what I provided was information from the Census Bureau. It's part of their 5-year update. So what they project is that in basically it's 2017, and they're saying as far as occupations go, the majority of people in town are working in management, business, science, and arts occupations, which is a huge group. As opposed to the remainder of the occupations are service occupations, sales and office, natural resources, and production and transportation. So I suppose it's no surprise that most people are located in that really large group that includes management, business, computer, engineering, education, legal, healthcare. So there's a lot of people in that group. So that's what most people in town do for their occupation. And then the second grouping is the industries that people are working in. So in that instance, they project that the number one industry that most residents are working in is educational services and healthcare and social assistance. So that would be 26.5% of people. So that's the biggest group is working in that, which basically is educational services and healthcare and social assistance is where most people are concentrating their occupation. The second largest group was professional, scientific, and management, and administrative and waste management. And then the third group was construction. Was the third group.
No, manufacturing.
Oh, manufacturing, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, manufacturing.
Okay.
So I don't know if that provided the additional information you were looking for, but that's typically where people are working.
So this is Hopkinton residents,
Residents.
they're employed residents over 16?
Yes. Yep.
Or 16 and over. Okay.
Do you have a Hopkinton unemployment rate?
I didn't look that up, but I can quickly do that while you're here. I can look that up.
Can you?
The state publishes those, I think, monthly.
By town?
Pretty close, so I can look and see, can find that.
Thanks. And this number, we have 8663, and then on the other one, it's approximately the same. Yeah, it's 8663 on both of them.
But that's the civilian population 16 and over that's employed.
That's employed. So do we have a number of the total adults or in that category? So we know ones that aren't employed, not unemployed, but not employed.
That could be at a future meeting. We can get more
Yeah.
demographic information, but.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking eligible voters or something like that. Well, that wouldn't be 16 and over, but that would be 18 and over. So, do you know the eligible voter number just off the top of your head? No, okay.
Well, eligible voters would be people 18 and over who are citizens and town clerk.
Whether or not they're
Town
employed.
clerk could probably provide that information.
Yeah. Got it, okay. Any questions on the employment piece?
So why were we pulling these?
We discussed it as part of this matrix of, really trying to understand where people are working and I wasn't the one who asked the question, but does anyone else remember precisely why?
I'm trying to figure out how this fits into zoning.
Not sure.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think, bear with me for a second. I seem to remember that it was based on understanding where people are working now in the sense of industries and so on, and how, therefore, if theoretically, if we targeted those types of companies or industries, then we could actually employ people in this town to work in the town. Does that ring a bell? Does that seem like it was so it was more along those lines. It was like, what's the ideal situation? Nobody has to commute more than 5 minutes, right? And so that it would be great if we would be able to employ our own residents in this town. I think that was the theory of educating ourselves a little bit more on the statistics. All right. Okay. All right, and then you also have a chart, U.S. Census Bureau, about commuting behavior.
So most people commute by car, truck, or van, and they do it by themselves.
Yep.
And they're in their car or van for a long time. I think it says the average travel time to work, I think most people in Hopkinton, the largest group, it's an hour or more.
Yep. I didn't understand, there's something on the second page of the spreadsheet, the chart part, that says living in a place. Worked in place of residence, worked outside place of residence. I understand that part is working at home or not. But living, I don't understand what living in a place means.
Yeah, it may be a census place, because they're saying that 9% of residents are working at home.
Right. But a census?
The Census Bureau they have place. There's a place is a specific kind of unit that they measure. So, for example, Hopkinton may be a place, or the center of Hopkinton may be a place. So I don't know if that's what they're getting at.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then the next category, living in 12 selected states. Massachusetts was one of those 12 selected states. So of course, Hopkinton residents are 100% in the 12 selected states. Worked in minor civil division of residence. Do you have any idea what that means?
No,
Okay.
I'd have to look up the definition of civil.
Yeah, okay. That sounds fine. Thank you. Because I didn't know what it meant either. But back to the first page, it did say worked in county of residence, 55%. So 55% of people in Hopkinton, in this particular survey, worked in the county. So,
County.
Yeah, I know, yeah,
Big
we're
county,
to
I
throw this
know.
one out, yeah,
Big
exactly.
county. So, but that's about as close as we get from this particular data.
Eliminates Boston, though.
Yeah,
And
that's
Worcester.
Suffolk. Yeah, Suffolk and Worcester.
Yeah.
And the mean travel time is, 37 minutes.
Yep.
Time to work one way.
No, long commutes.
Mhm.
And mostly alone, that's right. So, okay. So we're going to next move into our matrix, which I am going to go over to the other computer for. So today, we wanted to finalize the way that we have it laid out. I'll wait until I'm over at the microphone to talk more. Okay, so what we wanted to do today is finalize how we're doing this in terms of the businesses that are listed, the business categories that are listed, and the attributes across the top. And then Ted and I were talking just before the meeting too, and that he was, dabbling with this and trying to, work on how he would fill this out, and realized that he had some questions about how it would work. And perhaps, and that's, this is just a consensus of the people in this room, obviously, but hopefully will, lend us some information along the lines of the zoning that we have in town. But clearly, if people have particular knowledge of certain industries, it might be very helpful to hear from those people in this room, give us more information on that as well. Okay. So the business categories that we have right now: manufacturing, assembly, and processing. Think about this as we go through them, whether or not we would want to divide those into smaller categories, separate out certain types of businesses, or not. Okay. And then warehousing and distribution, laboratory, research centers, office, general. So kind of things that don't fit into, anything else. Daycare, funeral home, building trade shop, which is defined very thoroughly in our bylaws if you want to look for the definition. Hospitals and clinics, including inpatient services, or health services, which includes medical, dental, and chiropractic offices, outpatient only. Landscaping business, which is primarily a storage and staging area, because of course landscaping is done at other properties. Retail service, retail sales, retail food markets. We have not defined size on food markets because that again is something that we could separate out if we wanted to separate like a small market from a supermarket. Museum, entertainment, like theaters, clubs, concert halls, health club, indoor sports, recreational uses indoor and recreational uses outdoor, Restaurant, hotel, and that's separate from inn or B&B, which is up to 12 rooms as defined in our bylaws currently. A place of assembly or worship, educational facility, charity, philanthropic organization. Here I'm thinking, example, of course, Project Just Because. Car wash, gas station, auto repair and maintenance, automotive sales new versus used, automotive rental facility, self-storage, doggy daycare, animal shelter, animal boarding. I don't know, these are pretty much the same. But there's, by nature, for instance, I think by nature, an animal shelter and animal boarding would have outdoor activities for dogs. So, so keep that in mind when, thinking about the noise and, the things that would affect a neighborhood. Veterinary office or animal hospital, conference center, recycling center, hazardous waste processing center, communications facilities. This, I believe we defined last time as, this could include cell towers, or it could include other structures that have primarily equipment inside of it. Energy plant, granite quarry, or any stone quarry. It doesn't have to be granite. Asphalt plant. Yes, I added the agricultural uses, yes, and I forgot to delete that note. Slaughterhouse, agricultural, horticultural, floriculture, viticulture, which is, again, from our bylaws. Woodlots, portable woodworking mills and machinery. Portable? Okay. Sawmill. How does that differ?
From which one?
Sawmill versus woodlots with portable woodworking mills and machinery.
Sawmills are usually permanent.
Okay.
That's why I just figured maybe that's why you had them
That's why-
separated,
okay.
yeah.
I would
I-
interpret the other as like moving your chipper to a site.
Oh, okay, okay.
That would be my
Got it, okay.
interpretation.
And then riding stables, I put in, thinking commercial riding stables versus somebody who has horses at their home for their personal use, which is kind of.
And
zoned
some,
separate.
if I may, some may not be commercial, this educational too, they used to have that down on East Main, where they would, it was therapeutic, right? So I don't know how that would fit in.
Okay. Okay. Did anyone think of any other business categories that we missed?
I don't think so.
I gave up on trying to keep this list short.
Municipal?
Municipal uses?
I just looked around and said, hey, where are we now?
Uh,
We just have an open spot there.
Yeah, really?
Let's fill it in with something.
Okay, okay. Okay, these are the attributes that across,
Before you
yes.
go on, just, when I'm looking at the zoning map, we say business categories for all zoning districts, non-residential. We have residential A, residential B, residential lakefront. But on the map, the largest portion of our town is agricultural. So are we applying these to the agricultural as well?
I originally wasn't intending to, but then last meeting, we discussed adding all the agricultural uses because they're business uses as well. So,
The agricultural district is a residential district. It's not a,
Right, but that's not
well,
how
it's
it's
kind of like half
defined.
and half, because.
It's not how it's defined on our zoning.
well, the name doesn't necessarily signify the major use that's there.
Remember we tried to change that?
That's right, the
We tried
major
to add
use
the
is
word
residential.
residential?
Major
You were
use
there
is
for that one.
residential.
That was
But
fun.
I'm just, when I'm looking at this matrix now, when you say all zoning districts non-residential, and I look at this map, I would say that It's everything except for residential A, residential B, and residential lakefront.
Okay.
These apply to everything else. And that's how I would interpret that.
You want it to be excluding
Well, I
agricultural
mean,
also?
since agricultural on this map is mostly residential, I would think that I don't think that we're trying to apply these to the agricultural zone.
What I think,
Do you
I think,
understand
well,
my?
we're definitely, but the thing is, there are business uses allowed in the agricultural district, right?
We did the doggy dig here last year to make sure that if people did do a home-based business, that they had to, remember that, or was that 2 years ago? Size and all the other constraints. And there's some other ones.
I think
Funeral
it's
homes.
important to go back to the original question that we were devising the matrix for, which I think was to look at the business districts.
It was.
And although some business uses are allowed in agricultural, I don't think we're looking, to Ron's point, I don't think we're looking at agricultural or residential when we're considering
Okay, good.
these uses and whether or not they're things we want to support. I don't think we're looking at the residential or agricultural side. So I think it should be excluding residential and agricultural.
Okay.
I think that's more consistent with the discussions that we've been having.
But that is why I originally didn't include agricultural business uses.
Good
But,
point.
because,
I think at least, I don't know the exact definition of an agricultural business use. That at least fits in the rest of the stuff, but 48 agriculture, horticulture, floriculture and viticulture, maybe that comes under agriculture only zone and that may not be listed as an industry here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make this matrix consistent with what this map says. And when I look at this map, it's mostly green, which is agriculture.
yeah.
I just want to clarify, so agriculture is a Dover Amendment use, and it's allowed everywhere. So you can regulate agriculture on 5 acres or less, but agriculture per se is allowed everywhere, regardless of zoning district.
Okay. All right,
Wait, I have a quick question, sorry. So I always thought Dover Amendment was just educational.
No,
So what other uses?
daycare, education, I have to pull it up.
Oh, okay, so there's more, okay, I didn't realize that, thank you.
okay. I'm going to put a column for
Agricultural,
Dover Amendment.
religious, educational,
Yep.
according to Wikipedia,
Dover.
Oh, cool. Fast.
which is the beginning and end of all discussion. Anyway, agricultural, religious, and educational. And I guess
Includes
daycare is
childcare, yeah.
educational.
Okay. So, the purpose here is to look at how things fit into the business districts that we have, industrial business. We'll leave in the agricultural line because that is something that Rhea was talking about, and she's not here to defend the reasons. It's not going to hurt us either way to have
Right,
this.
'cause then we just know how much we have
So,
in town and
Exactly.
and what it brings.
But yes, our intent was to focus on the business districts and to making sure that we're,
Now, if I may, because I missed some of these when I was out last week, are we going to fill in now to, each of the businesses that we have in each of these categories, or?
no. And I'd like to use an example line, and I think if we do it all together, I think we maybe would understand how to do it consistently, so.
Oh, good, okay.
But let's quickly go through the attributes we have across the top and make sure that we think that that is complete, okay? So tax revenue, that's, and these are all gonna be on a relative scale, so high, medium, low, in comparison to other things. So tax revenue would be, and it's always, relative to the square footage that you're using, the land mass that, is being used for this particular business. Is the tax revenue high, medium, or low? Contribution to town, okay? Job numbers, job skills. So high, medium, low in that case would be highly skilled jobs, medium skilled jobs, low skilled jobs. And potentially that also, don't know what jobs local means.
I didn't either at home, but I think it means how many jobs does that create for people locally?
Yeah, I think.
Oh,
that's
okay,
what-
so that's where our.
But when I was working at home, I couldn't remember what
Yeah,
that.
that's what our spreadsheet, that Elaine got for us, that's where that, fit with local jobs, fit with local population. Okay? Does that make more sense? So 2 weeks from now, when you're looking at it, you might remember what it
Maybe.
means.
Back to tax revenue, I'm sorry.
Yeah, please.
Is the tax revenue that we're looking for here the assessed value of the property? And how does the type of business going to affect the assessed value of a piece of property?
Go ahead.
Most businesses are just the value of the property that the business is on and the building. But some businesses are taxed on their personal property in the building. Hotels generate additional revenue if you put a local sales tax on it. So I think the basis for the tax statement is, does it do anything more or less than what the standard is, which would be just the real estate value and the building value, just like everyone else. Religious facilities don't pay real estate.
So would that be a
taxes, correct?
medium? So would a standard be medium? And then we
That
go
would be
high?
my interpretation
Okay,
of it.
cool, okay, yeah,
And then
because I'm
if you
trying to
have a
figure
church, it
how.
would be low because, and correct me if I'm wrong, they don't pay taxes.
But we're not trying to assess the value of what the employees are going to do in terms of
No.
spending money and time or doing any of those things.
No, I
No,
think we're
because that's
just,
gonna be under drives revenue to other businesses or things like that. So tax revenue of, of the business itself? Is that what you're,
Yeah, and the point that Carol raised is, I don't have any knowledge of how I assign other values to a particular business other than what the assessed value is of it.
Wikipedia.
well, I think any office pays on their personal property. Elaine could probably give us a quick rundown on who pays what, but the TIF that we just did, if they're considered manufacturing, they don't pay taxes on their inventory, I don't believe.
So you can look up what people are paying by looking at the property record card for each parcel. So if you wanted to go to the assessors, the database on the website, you can go to a parcel, see what the assessed value is there.
yeah, but that,
And so you can get an idea of value, and it also indicates personal property.
but using the TIF as an example, because that's, the best information I have right now. There was, for one, with a new business, there's leasehold improvements that would increase the value, the assessed value. So that would be a plus beyond just the property sitting there.
Well, that's where they got their break on, because they still have to pay their basic tax.
Yeah,
And
so
they're
that's what
getting-
I'm saying, is that businesses in that category that are likely to improve the property, they're gonna pay more taxes than if the property stayed vacant. Okay?
Unless we grant them a TIF, in which case they
Yeah,
won't.
I know.
No, but it would still say, it would say a medium.
It would
And
stay-
and with an asterisk, because it's only a medium for a period of time.
Well, even if the building is vacant, you're still getting real estate taxes on the building and the property, regardless of whether anything's happening in the facility.
Yeah, but then we have blank, 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 blank.
I would say all of those are medium unless they generate more than,
No, what
Standard.
what I'm saying is the job numbers, job skills, jobs.
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
all of those stay blank, and that's where we lose a lot of money as a town.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's very true. So the idea on tax revenue, and this addresses, one of the things that we were talking about, Ted, because I don't know, each and every business and what kind of tax revenue it's gonna generate, but this is all relative. So we know from Elaine, that a place of assembly or worship, they're tax exempt, right?
If it's a religious institution.
So that one would automatically be low.
Or zero.
Yeah, but we're doing it on a relative scale, high, medium, low. So we've just established that medium is going to be a property or property and building sitting vacant and just having the base, that's the baseline real estate taxes, right? And high would be a business that would generate additional tax revenue through personal property, which basically means equipment, right? Equipment that they're using in their facility. So manufacturing is going to generate more taxes from that. And what?
I don't know that that's true. I'm not sure that if you're not classified as manufacturing.
If the state classifies them as manufacturing, then their personal property is exempt.
Okay, so manufacturing doesn't.
But not all manufacturing is classified as manufacturing by the state.
Okay.
What determines the state's classification? Do you have any idea?
No, well, I'd have to look it up.
Okay, so it's not an
Criteria.
obvious,
If tax revenue is important, is there any chance we might ask the assessor to come and give us a primer on
yeah.
how properties are assessed in town?
Either that or you can skip the
And-
column and I'm happy to look it up and
Yeah,
and put
we could do
values
that
and
as
all
well.
those things.
If we feel like anything's, and that's the thing, when each of you are filling this out, you can say, I don't know enough about this, so I'm gonna leave this one blank, So if you feel more comfortable with that, that's fine. But I do feel like each of you is gonna have opinions on some of these categories, so, and it's, the most important thing is that you're internally consistent. So if you're looking at job numbers, it's like, high for this, you're relative to the other categories, relative to the other business categories, is this high, medium, or low, number of jobs, so somebody might say high, somebody might say medium, but they're probably gonna be internally consistent in that the other things are going to be lower, on somebody's scale. So that's the important thing. I'm trying to think, some of the other things that we can automatically say are going to be low for educational facilities, right? Would be low.
Charity, philanthropic.
Sorry, just a quick question. So I know educational facilities are covered by the Dover thing and all that stuff, but what are a private swimming school or a goldfish swim school or something? What category would it come under?
Would they count as educational?
If it's a business, then it would be taxed as a,
Or it could
As
be
a
indoor
business.
Like a
recreation.
regular
It
business?
would be, in classes, so good.
Yeah.
And health facilities, most of the time, are nonprofit or for-profit?
they're profit. It's a mix.
I mean, I think they're for profit, but sometimes they're classified as nonprofit.
Animal shelter would most likely be a nonprofit.
Yep. But then the animal boarding, for instance, and an animal hospital, those are commercial enterprises, so
So they'd be medium.
More likely.
most likely to be medium, yep. So any other ones that are most definitely...
Oh, and
No, so obviously, some businesses can get the designation of nonprofit, depending on, and they might fall into, for instance, riding stables. If they're primarily commercial, they're going to be more taxable. But if they're primarily a therapeutic...
Municipal uses have no tax benefit.
Okay, I'll put that one too.
They collect.
Okay. Museum.
Museum is probably not a problem, right? Mostly.
Most of the time, yep.
I suppose I can open the museum in my basement, but invite you guys to check it out.
So numbers of jobs, again, high, medium, low, relative to the other business categories. So you're just thinking relative. So, job skills, the jobs fit with local population, so that would be reference back to the spreadsheets that Elaine has provided. Town image. This can obviously cover a lot of different things, but it's really your impression of would this be beneficial to the town in terms of image. So it's really a personal, very subjective thing, okay? Quality of life. I think it's easiest to think of examples of low, like, oh, we wouldn't want that in our town, kind of thing. But most probably would fall into the medium, and, you know,
Health services could be high.
health club could be high, yeah, absolutely. You also may even think of some things that are amenities that would be added benefit to have in town versus going to another town as high versus what they, you know, if we don't have that amenity in town, it's, you know, it's a pain. If we don't have any restaurants in town, yeah, you know, it could be considered high to have a restaurant in town, you know, so. And drives revenue to other businesses. To a certain extent, that's linked to the numbers. You know, if there's a lot of people coming to a particular plant or manufacturing facility or office facility, they're likely to bring money that they'll spend at gas stations, at restaurants, at possibly other things, possibly hotels even, you know, so if we had those facilities.
It would also depend on how much money their employees would be making.
Yep.
Because if it's something with a lot of jobs, but they're not making a lot of money, they'll most likely be bringing their lunch or whatever from home, so they won't be eating at the restaurants.
So it'd be linked to job skills and job number, yep. Okay. So, those are all the potential contributions to town, high, medium, low, okay? With high being better. The next set of attributes that we've defined are the resource usage, which, you know, is, I mean, pollution is not a resource use, but I think you get the point, is that if it's high, that's bad. So the first few are traffic, so it's road use, essentially it's road wear and tear, and traffic, which is a quality of life issue. So we divided these between rush hour traffic, off-peak traffic, and truck traffic, because different businesses will drive different types of traffic. And it would be traffic for workers coming to the business as well as consumers going to a business. All right? Okay. Water use, sewer use, utilities, those may be something that we don't have a lot of knowledge about. So you can use, if you have special knowledge of certain things, you know, for instance, laboratories and research centers might require more water usage. It depends on the business. Some manufacturing uses might require a lot of water usage, for instance. But this is something that we might not be able to define very well. So, it's just something we probably want to keep in mind. Town services, safety, etc. Parking needs. And that, you know, again, saying that a particular place has a high parking need because of a high number of employees and/or a high volume of customers does
So a
not
town hall?
necessarily mean
Like town hall?
a town hall. That's right. It does not necessarily mean it's terrible, but it's just something we should define, you know, so. Okay. Pollution, so it's air, water, environmental impact, essentially. Noise, specifically outside the building, because any noise that's contained inside the building, oftentimes restricted by our bylaws or by special permits and that sort of thing, is really not an impact on the neighbors and abutters, so it really shouldn't be considered in my mind. Anything I haven't thought of?
No?
Okay.
No, go ahead, my question's
Okay.
a couple columns over.
All right. Competes with other town businesses. Obviously,
I don't know
It
if we
has some
should,
competition.
well, that hit, I remember when, the new,
Dry cleaner?
no, old age facility, what, over 55 facility that just opened up.
Yeah.
And when they were coming, I think I was on the planning board still back then. And people came in and said, well, why are we gonna let them open? We already have one in town. And I don't think people understand that we can't say no to a business that wants to come in and open up. And actually, we wanna say yes to as many businesses that wanna come in if they're in the right place and, you know, the right businesses in the right places.
Plenty of customers.
But that's why I'm wondering why we're putting competes with other town businesses.
Again, it's not a reason to say anything against it. It's just defining how these,
Because we're trying to encourage, you know, sort of like with the new company that we just gave a TIF to, you know, we're trying to encourage other laboratories and stuff to come to town, and even if they compete.
does anybody feel like this would differentiate any of the business categories from one another? Just looking through the list. I don't really see where it would be necessary. But
I don't think, from a zoning perspective, we necessarily want to encourage, like, say, this would be a great use in this district when we've got 12 other of the same thing elsewhere, like dry cleaners, which is the only thing that immediately comes to mind. We have oodles of them. So I'm not sure that we want to throw that into South Street as a good use for South Street.
right. So that's
So
what,
in
that would
that
be,
instance, it might make a difference, but to John's point, if the dry cleaner wants to open on South Street and it's allowed on South Street, then
yep.
And it's next door to another one, or another pizza place.
Yeah, it's
Or a
certainly
liquor
not
store.
something we would disallow for people. I think this is more of a question of, yeah, what do we want to encourage through zoning? So,
Well, I just remember when CVS came in over there, my wife was saying, why can't we get a Trader Joe's? Get us a Trader Joe's. I really want a Trader Joe's. I said, it's not up to us to pick the company and say, we want you. It's if they want to invest in us.
very true.
I'm with your wife, though.
Oh, it would be great. Yeah, it would have been fun.
Okay.
They
And
didn't like
then,
us.
this, I just threw in the Dover Amendment, that, and we don't have to fill this in ahead of time, we can fill it in later, of what is covered under the Dover Amendment.
You skipped the column I had a question about, though.
The blank one?
First impression.
No, I was gonna come back to that.
Okay.
Our first impression, as in each and every person's first impression, not talking to your neighbors, of what zone should this particular category be in? So,
Okay.
Oh,
So that's not a yes or no, that's
it's
a
not a yes or no.
industrial A or B or downtown business.
Yeah, so IA,
Or none?
IB, DB, RB, right, rural business?
BR.
I don't know why you would call it BR.
We already had an RB for residents B. The residential districts came first.
Office Park,
Office Park, OP, is that what it is? And
it says Office Park, I don't know what the
Oh, office.
abbreviation is.
Professional Office Park, is it OP or
P
P?
is for professional office. The office park doesn't really exist anymore. It's only a small landlocked piece that used to be, where the development is, the 110 Grill,
Yeah.
that area. So that's pretty much.
Oh, that's
gone.
why that's still there.
That's pretty
Okay,
much
because
gone
it used
now.
to be, okay. I was wondering why it was there. Okay, so I missed one. Downtown business, oh, business, just the regular business. Business district. Okay. Is that it, or agricultural, or not at all?
No agriculture.
Agricultural.
And we can list more than one, right, if you think it belongs?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Dover Amendment covers agricultural.
Because now I'm looking at manufacturing, and wondering if manufacturing, is it large manufacturing, small manufacturing, or assembly? You know, if somebody's putting together little teeny widgets, and, they can do it, they're doing it in their garage. Let's think about Apple. They started in a garage.
You can split it into 3 if you want.
So the last thing we're going to do, but we're not doing it, each of us is not doing it ourselves, and we're not going to do it ahead of time before you've done this rating, is put the district it's in right now. But I don't want people to have that in front of them when they're doing these ratings, because that kind of defeats the purpose.
No, because I remember that's what you were saying, what's already on, we were talking about South Street, and you said, well, we've already got a huge mix already.
Yeah.
Why would,
It's true, but we need to clear our minds of what it is and really think about just the categories, as if we were creating these districts anew.
It's 1950 again.
Yeah, there you go.
So is the plan for us all to go out and fill this chart, come back next time with it filled, or are you going to try and consolidate responses?
It would be really great if you guys could email me your completed charts prior to the next meeting, so that I can then, what I will do is I will fill in each box with high, medium, low, based on, the ratings of every single person, okay? And then we can discuss them. And if we, because, just because, Carol said low on a particular one, maybe after the discussion, she's like, yeah, I'm leaning more toward medium on that one now. And so we can change it, and we can change it to a consensus. We can leave it as the distribution. If people have very disparate views on it, that's cool too.
Could we do a couple as a group to
Yes.
establish a baseline?
We could do that. Would you like to do that now?
I have a question too. Also in, manufacturing, but also laboratory research centers, could we make our own, subcategories? Because I used to work in medical research, for example. So when I think of research, I think of a hospital. But I know that there are also some scientific companies that are much, much smaller. Like my husband works for a company that's 100 and something people.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I have a hard time picturing, because I'm well, a huge research facility like the one I used to work at would have very different answers than, the one my husband works at, so.
Then maybe we should split it into 2,
Yeah.
large and small.
Yeah,
We can
Just
do that.
to John's.
When I was trying to do this before, I had the exact same thing. It seems to me, if Mass General decided to move to Hopkinton, that would be a whole different situation than if we got a branch of the Metro West Health Services. It would mean a whole different thing for quality of life and town image. Similarly, Project Just Because is very different from the World Wildlife Fund. So part of the struggle I had was, well, how much traffic does it generate? Is it Better Call Saul, one lawyer and a woman sitting at the desk in front? Or is it Sokolov Law Agency with how many lawyers it has? So I don't have an answer to that, but that was part of my struggle when I tried to do this homework. Is
Okay.
I kept writing low to high, depending on how big a business it is.
yeah.
So what I think of, with either an office space or with a research space, is that if you think of the job numbers, it's about density. It's about how many people are in a lab. And you can multiply that by 10, because it's a lot of labs altogether, but the density is pretty much the same. They're gonna have a space at their lab bench, and they're gonna have some office space. And same with lawyers, yeah, for instance, there's gonna be a certain square footage per number of people. And we're talking about square footage on certain pieces of land, some plots, of land. For the most part, most of these types of buildings are gonna have a little bit of green space around them, just to make it pleasant to be there, But it's the density in there that we're talking about. You know what I mean?
I think so. That doesn't necessarily answer for me. And I'm not trying to be the one.
No,
blanket.
that's
I
okay.
just want to know how to do this well. That doesn't necessarily answer for me how many jobs are being created.
Yeah.
To say that the density of a law office is the same, but one law office has 3 employees, one has 300 potentially. So there are categories where I kept writing low to high. in my head, meaning depending on how big it is.
Yeah.
Project Just Because and Amnesty International are two different nonprofits.
Yeah.
right? And I don't know.
So, I went through the same issue because everything is generic, so you can actually think of it in any scale. So in my head, I was going for the averages. So if it ran low to high, medium was what I was going to put in. But I don't know if it will work for everything. The first few that I saw work for that. Maybe, I don't know, can we go with averages for?
So, and that's why I propose, let's do a couple. We'll establish a group kind of baseline for how
Okay.
we're thinking about these things.
Yes.
And I'll mostly listen, because
I'm just trying to think of some
Little,
good example ones, so.
I would suggest office general, because everybody's somewhat got an idea in their head what that means,
Okay.
as opposed to like a laboratory. I have no idea how many people go in a lab.
It depends on the type of lab.
Yeah, it does, it does. Okay, office general. So, Carol, why don't you start?
I would say that is a higher tax revenue generator, because all the equipment in there is taxable, it's personal property. Job number density. I would say it's medium. Job skills, medium to upper. I think it's high in terms of fits with the local population. I think it's kind of neutral on the image. I think it's neutral on quality of life. I would say it's higher on driving revenue to other businesses.
Let's stop there for a second, and just, discuss some of these things. So your rationale for the higher tax revenue is because, it does have, any of the equipment inside an office is going to be,
It's
Personal property
not
taxes.
just
yeah,
the land in the building.
right, okay.
But why is that different than most of the other ones on this list?
Daycare's not going to have the computer equipment that an office would.
Who isn't?
A daycare?
I don't think they would. Absolutely. They're doing all their registration, all their account records, it's all computer-driven.
It's computer-driven, but if you have an office taking up, say, town hall size, everyone that's working in that building has a computer and has their stuff. If you're in a daycare, you've got maybe 2 computers doing the administrative stuff.
I would argue that daycare might be low, but office would be medium. Office is like.
That would be
most of-
internally consistent then, because if she would put daycare as medium and office general as high, it's still the same, essentially the same relative difference.
Well, I think we're trying to establish a baseline. What's the baseline?
which I think would make your job easier later. Then you
Yeah,
don't
oh,
have
yeah.
to-
Right.
So, I don't know, I would say that daycare is low, because I agree with your assessment.
Daycare's low.
But then, that's why I like none for the educational, the nonprofits, because it's lower than low. That's,
Zero.
do they pay property taxes even?
No.
No.
No, so to me, I think it's worth saying none of those, so that we can have a low.
But did you say educational facilities? Nonprofit
I
education.
think I'm not sure what I said, but I mean nonprofits.
Right, there are plenty of educational
Sure,
facilities
sure,
that are for-profit that
I
would.
don't know what I said, I'll have to go to the record, but I meant nonprofit.
Okay.
Can I ask something just for clarification? Because I didn't know this. So everything that's inside of a business is taxable?
You have to pay property taxes on the value of the equipment that you use in your business.
So if you had like a medical office that had CAT scans and MRIs and something really expensive machines, they pay a lot more tax?
Yes.
Unless they're nonprofit,
Okay. No, I didn't know that, that's why.
is my understanding, but I can look that up.
Okay.
If that's true, I'd go with Ron, I'd call it an office medium, because they don't have CAT scans in That's gotta cost a fortune.
Well, the other thing is,
Well, now that we have none, see, I was leaving low for the no guys, but if you want to have none,
Yeah, let's have a none.
I think that's reasonable. So I'm just going to put a 0 in for the museum and things
Oh,
like
good,
that.
yeah, good.
Okay,
okay, so you can move it to medium,
okay. Oh, which?
the tax revenue.
Good,
Tax
now we have a
revenue for
baseline
office.
there.
So,
Okay?
yeah.
All right, so we have a baseline for tax revenue, now let's have a baseline for job density.
So if we want to compare office, general, and daycare, we can do that too. We can look at those two.
Yeah, because
Okay.
daycare
Daycare, it's
would be an L2 also.
medium
For density?
for density.
No, that'd be low.
Think?
They
Low?
need
For daycare.
one staff person per every 5 kids or something, I mean.
Oh, so it could be high, oh.
Well, it depends on the size of the, but again, in my mind, I'm looking at a building this size and how many kids are you gonna have in, as opposed to little cubicles.
A lot of people that pull in the next generation every day.
Oh, yeah, there's kids, a lot of
Remember
kids
that.
there, but.
No, but I'm saying if you need one staff person per 5 to
Agreed.
comply with your
Yeah, I don't
license,
think it's
that's a lot
low.
of staff.
But it also depends on the age of the child, because infants have to have, by law, like you can't have one person watching 5 infants. I
Right.
think you have to have like
I
1 to 2
think-
or 1 to 3.
I
I think
think
it would,
it's-
job density would be medium.
I think it would be
In a
medium.
day.
Okay, I retract my thought.
So, when I think of low job density, I think,
Is that a funeral home?
a warehouse,
An
gonna
automated
have,
warehouse facility.
a large
that's run
space
by
with-
robots.
Yeah, I guess a
Few
funeral home
employees.
doesn't have that many people.
or
Yeah,
retail.
that's what I think.
So job skills, the medium?
Salesperson and an
Job
embalmer.
skills, medium to low, medium,
Medium to low, I think.
For which one?
Daycare.
daycare.
Now, that's a tough one, because I don't want saying stuff that I don't want my wife hearing me saying, oh, that's low. You're putting the most valuable things in your life into a facility. You hope that they're highly skilled,
So when I
especially
was
this
doing my
teaching.
rough draft of this, part of me was factoring in the education level you need to do that job.
Yeah.
I do think that I want my daycare provider to be highly skilled in dealing with kids, but I don't think you need a whole bunch of education necessarily.
No.
I don't know if that's the way to think through it, but that's the way I was thinking through job scale, is the education needed to do that job.
Yeah,
I would
and
agree.
that also comes into mind, like for instance, in the case of a daycare, the daycares that are in Hopkinton are on the higher end of the cost scale. They are not the lower end of the cost scale. So the employees there will also be a little bit more educated than you would expect
In another
lower end
town.
facility. So
Potentially,
I would go for medium by personal perception, but
Okay, good.
Good point.
So, jobs fit with local population,
Yeah,
medium?
Medium.
medium.
And I certainly think that we
See,
could,
that's
we
the
could
thing.
staff a daycare facility completely from people from Hopkinton, potentially, because, there'd
so
be.
that's the thing. So my thing is, if you're thinking about Hopkinton, especially after the education survey thing that we saw, most of Hopkinton is highly educated. Highly educated are not going to go for
Working in a
daycare,
daycare?
working in a daycare. So I would think local would be L in this case.
That's interesting, yeah.
It could be.
Oh, wow, okay, that's a good, that's a,
Wait,
wow,
wait,
funny,
good point.
wow.
Okay.
That's a one, weird, yeah, I guess,
This
that's
is a lower
coming up from
grade.
the other side.
That's true. Town image, neutral?
Medium,
Doesn't do anything for me one way or
It's
the
neutral.
other.
yeah,
Medium is neutral.
it's good to have, it's good to have some.
It's good to have them.
Yes.
Because that's one of the main things people
Quality
need
of
to go
life?
to. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's
absolutely
high.
quality of life high,
I would say high for quality of life.
because you
know,
get to,
That's an amenity that
drop
people
off your
look
kid
for.
quickly to get to work.
I agree that it's high in terms of quality of life, but I don't think it's high in terms of image for the community.
Just
It's
neutral.
medium.
Yeah, it's medium, yeah, right,
It's
yeah,
new
it's
count.
medium, yeah.
And drives revenue to the businesses?
Medium.
Medium.
Because I used to be one of those people pulling into next generation, dropping her off,
Oh, yeah.
jump back in the car, get right to work as quickly as possible.
Now, why would you go medium on drives revenue to other businesses?
Because it's average.
Because by having a daycare in town, it is an amenity to people working in town. And that means they're staying local, they're stopping at daycare, they're going to work nearby.
And I still drove to Andover.
That was my rationale, though. Am I not making any sense?
Well, it makes sense,
Perfectly
that's not the
reasonable.
way I looked at it. I looked at it like you're live in Hopkinton, you're dropping your kids off at the convenient daycare,
Yeah.
and you're driving off to work wherever it is you're working, and I don't see us
average,
driving a lot
37
of
minutes
revenue
away.
because, I'm sorry?
I said,
On average, 37 minutes.
minutes away.
Yes. I don't see you picking up your kids at the end of the night and going down to Price
Cornell's.
Chopper to go shopping, or Cornell's, or,
Okay, no.
that's
Nor do I-
why,
That's reasonable, absolutely.
that's why I would rate that lower.
You would rate it
Nor do I
low.
see
Yes.
the employees
But you
necessarily
live in
adding a whole
town.
bunch to town.
So it's kind of skewing the.
Yeah,
Because I see them as pretty low paid,
low
would be
pay,
my guess.
unfortunately, yes.
Actually, that's a good one to bring up.
So, yeah, so I definitely can see the rationale. Low, medium. So,
Okay.
okay, so, do you want to do more of this?
Yeah, let's get the baseline.
Okay, sounds good.
Just
So-
carry these two out. and that gives
Just
us
these
all
two.
something-
Right, I think that gives us, yeah, 'cause
That gives us all something to reference.
yeah.
So, okay. We're on road use.
Road use,
off-
okay.
Okay, we're at
So I think.
rush hour.
I think they're both high.
Both high. Because, yeah, trying to drop off the kids with the buses.
Definitely
coming out.
daycare.
Daycare,
I would agree
was
with that.
high. Ooh,
Well,
So-
and most offices are
Yeah,
gonna be
makes sense.
rush hours.
yeah, if you think of big
Intense.
office building. Off-peak.
low.
I don't think daycare is low off peak. I think there's a
No.
whole lot of pickup at noon and drop off at noon, especially. At least that was my experience. We had a whole lot middle of the day, and there were whole classes shifting and coming back in.
I agree.
Okay.
But to me, off-peak means it's throughout the day off-peak. Where I would look at a doctor's office as being high off-peak use, because, I mean, their appointments booked the entire day. There's not a peak at the beginning of the day, the end of the day, and even the middle of the day. That would, to me, would be rush hour. Something that's got appointments all through would be high.
Consistent.
I agree,
flow.
I agree,
Or we
they
could
would
say
be
if we're
high,
going
but
to lunch at the same
I'm
time,
thinking
probably,
daycare
yeah.
would be medium.
Yeah. that's
Because
what I
it
think.
wouldn't be low off-peak, but it wouldn't be as high as a doctor's office or a supermarket.
It's
Off-peak.
weird. The daycare, I think, comes in spurts. The doctor's
does.
office is 2 cars in, 2 cars out, 2 cars in, all day long.
Yeah.
The daycare is 11:30, 15 cars in, 15 cars
Yeah.
out.
Yep,
And then nothing for a couple hours.
Right.
agreed.
Right, potentially.
But office
well,
parks are
back.
the same thing, at between 11:30 and
Because we're running
and
out
1
for
o'clock,
lunch.
everybody's going to run it out for lunch.
That's true.
So is that a rush hour?
I don't know, are we creating a third section of rush hour, the lunch hour?
Could be.
I'm not into.
That's, Ron had a good point there.
I think of rush hour as beginning of the day and the end of the
I do too.
workday.
But, and then everything else is off-peak, but I think, that's why I bring up daycare. I think it does generate substantial traffic off-peak, but maybe not consistent the way it does.
Yeah, not consistent, yeah, I agree.
But certainly significant traffic.
So I could see somebody rating it either a medium or a high based on this discussion, this off-peak piece here. Yeah?
All right,
So
medium
depending
top.
on the way you're looking at it, it could be a medium or a high.
Okay, good. This is the baselines, which it's working out great.
Okay. Truck traffic? Low? I think it would be low in both cases,
Certainly
yes?
low for daycare.
Yeah.
What is
What
it?
about deliveries to office? What
Yeah.
about UPS
That's what I was
deliveries?
gonna say.
Yeah, they definitely do, but I'm thinking.
But that's usually
Big
during,
trucks.
but no, that would be
UPS would also be
Amazon.
like, if, they're delivering to
UPS.
anywhere else in town, it would probably be all on the same truck.
Yeah, there'll be UPS and that kind of stuff,
I'm
that's
not
all through the
thinking
day.
big trucks and
I don't know what kind of truck we're
loading
talking about.
docks and
Yeah.
stuff.
When I did this before, I included ambulance and truck. So I don't know really what we're aiming for, so.
I'm just thinking, what kind of trucks would be higher
Well, office
wear and
supply,
tear?
you know, the Staples truck or the WB Mason truck could show up at the office
Sure.
building 5 times a day because you've got 20 different businesses in there, all putting their orders in, coming in at different times.
Oh,
That could be a lot of truck traffic.
Right.
Huh.
In my
It's-
school, we have WB Mason showing, and I'm not a big school. They're, I think, twice a day, WB Mason. We got a vegetable truck once a day. We got the HVAC every other day. Seems like they got to show up in my school.
So again,
So, yeah, I think
if
there are
if you've got multiple businesses, they're all placing orders separately and they're getting their deliveries throughout the day. So I would put the daycare as low and the office as medium. It's not an E.L.
Yeah, I can see
Harvey
that.
type truck traffic,
Right.
yeah,
but it's still
okay,
a fair amount of truck traffic.
fair enough. Okay,
And aren't water and sewer supposed to come out to be the same?
water, sewer.
I would say they're low.
I think office is low. I don't know about daycare.
Well, no, no, what I'm saying is, I wonder if
Lot
we
of
should
hand
just,
washing.
I wonder if we should combine water and sewer, because unless it's private sewer, because water in is water out, that's how isn't that how we build?
That's how you
Is that
bill
always
them.
true for manufacturing?
Don't we
Not
build?
not every,
It's billed based on
not every
the sewer.
place who has water service also has sewer. So sometimes people are getting water but not sewer.
Oh, then how would we know?
Does it matter?
Yeah,
No, that's what I was just saying, because that's how they
Yeah, does
bill
it
for
matter?
sewer.
I
is
would
How
guess.
much water did you use? Okay, yeah, I was just throwing that one out there.
That's like a gimme column. You don't want to leave it there just because, you know, if it's low going in, it's low coming out.
That's what I meant, yeah.
if they're all the same, then I'll combine them.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and daycare, water, sewer?
Well, you could argue there that sewer is lower.
Depends
Oh,
on
my
the age.
goodness.
Depends on the age.
That's true.
I'm thinking medium.
Okay.
Really?
I think they're both medium.
You think?
Yeah,
I feel like
it's just a
daycare
standard.
is low.
Yeah, they don't stand out as one way or the other.
Right, they don't stand out, it's not.
I don't think daycares use that much water though, because most of the kids there,
Well, it's standard,
Either drink
standard
milk or
number of
formula
flushes or
and-
something, you know, if there's a.
No, for the daycares, I think they also have to have, they have to wash everything at the end of the day for so that it stays germ-free. There are rules that they have to laundry certain things at certain times.
they do the
Otherwise,
laundry at the daycare?
some of the stuff, not everything. They send the dirty blankets home. They have to offload anything that they
It
can.
does seem like they wash a lot.
Like,
Now,
they wash
granted,
a
they
lot.
might use like wet wipes all the time, but they do, I think they have sinks in every room for washing hands and things.
Yeah, because every time you walk into
I have no
NGCC, if you walk
experience
by
with
the
this, I
washer
don't
dryer
know.
thing, you can hear the load running, so
They have
it seems like
dishwashers,
a lot.
I like John's point of having the office general being medium on water and sewer as well, as being that it's not high, it's not low, it's just
Standard.
we're in the middle.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we have to know, yeah, it's,
All right,
In
you know, somebody working in an office and somebody working in a daycare and somebody working in a trade shop, all probably,
And they would,
go
that
to
would
the
also-
use of facilities about the same.
and that gives us room for car wash and agricultural uses, where clearly water would be high, so.
Not if it's water efficient.
Actually,
That storage is low.
actually, car washes now, they're up to like 97%.
Anyway, all right.
all right,
Utilities,
Same
you
with-
mean like
same with utilities,
electric
medium.
and gas?
yeah. And heat,
Medium?
medium. I think those would be both medium. Any other thoughts on that? No? Okay.
I feel like an office would be high. If you have all those computers going all the time, that draws a lot of power.
Well, in my head, if I may, high would probably be hospital, clinic,
Manufacturing.
yeah, manufacturing maybe, what's something else?
Medical marijuana growing facility would be high.
Yeah, could be,
It's hydroponic?
Oh, because of the lights?
yeah.
Yeah.
What else would be high?
Energy plant?
energy plant.
Okay, I see.
Hopefully we don't get any of those here. They're all in Bellingham.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Police, fire, town services.
Medium?
Medium.
Parking needs.
I'd say office
I
is
think
medium.
it's high for daycare, personally.
Well, it's only
No,
high for a
But
minute.
daycare is a
You're
lot
right,
of
they turn
turnover.
off our,
Yeah,
you're
it's,
right, it's
They
turned.
they don't have people parking there the whole day.
That's
Right.
true. Yeah, medium?
Medium.
Maybe, I don't know. Isn't there a reason that, what's this place over there on the corner of 135 and Main Street? They have a
NGCC.
huge parking lot. They
Mm-hmm.
probably do that for a reason, right? Because when it
it's
is
for
time,
drop,
when it is time to pick
When
up
it's-
and drop off.
Because
you
it's
need
all
those
at the beginning of the
places.
day and the end of the day. Believe me, I remember.
So for a relatively small building, they have a relatively big parking lot. Does that make them a high parking?
But do they need all the space?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
They do?
at the rush hour.
Yeah, rush hour, yeah, because I used to have to park far away sometimes if I
Yeah,
was
sometimes
late,
it was
which
impossible
I
to find
often
parking.
was.
Oh, yeah, because you have to park to walk, to take your kids in. You can't just drop them off like at
Yeah.
school. Okay, yeah, I see.
Would that lead daycare to be high for parking or not?
That was my rationale.
Yeah, so even though it's not being used all day, you still need it for those crucial times.
But is it any more than a general office?
I don't think
So
so.
for that size building that was office workers, wouldn't you use that size lot?
Sure, here's what I remember from my kids in daycare. They were in a room about this size, and there were always at least 4 teachers in a room for this size. So if you have multiple rooms this size, the number of, I mean, this is a small room, I think, for 4 people to share. Maybe it could be chopped up into
No,
4
just
individual offices.
For
right?
individual offices, they'd be rather
And then on
large
top of
offices.
that, the parent traffic, right? So it's the same as an office building, plus
Plus
all the
one.
parent traffic, putting pressure on parking.
This is a huge space for 4 offices,
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
you could
that's
fit
what I
a
was
lot
thinking.
more
I
in
was
here.
like, wow.
especially the way
I've been
they're
in
doing
schools
offices
my
now.
entire life.
Okay, so this is
But-
a very big space.
If we had a bunch of rooms like this with 4 employees plus parent traffic, is that more than an office or is that the same? I don't know the answer.
So, my reasoning
Put
was
like 10
that,
cubicles in here.
for parking spaces, there is like a rule, right? This
That's
many
what they're
number of
doing now.
people, you have to
Big
provide
open
this many
spaces with
parking
cubicles.
spaces and stuff like that. But for a retail, you cannot, even if you do that, like, you need more, like, for a Starbucks, we always need more than what we can actually calculate. In these cases, you can calculate. For a daycare and office space, you can calculate if the capacity is this much parking needs to be provided.
That's true.
So that way, it seems a manageable number than versus something like a retail, which is an unmanageable number. That's why I was, in my head, this went as a medium and that went as a high. So I don't know, but.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, because, again, we're saying, you know, the parking needs would be factored into the plot of land that any given business needs. And, so they're paying real estate taxes on that parking. But if it's an excessive amount that we think might outstrip the zoning, the rules, the parking, you have to include this number of minimum spaces. That might be where we would use high for here. Does that make sense? So I think everything else might be medium otherwise.
I'm not sure really that parking is
Something we need to think about?
I don't think it's an issue, because that's all determined, for this
Yeah.
use, you need these spaces.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's all.
Not always determined correctly, but yeah.
I don't think it changes where we put things or how we use them or
I think you got a point there.
where you make the decision. It doesn't impact my decision.
Yeah.
They can either provide for
people
the
feeling
parking or
about
they
it?
can't.
What do you think?
You wanna take it out, is that what you said?
Delete it? Yes?
Oh,
Yeah.
you're talking about deleting the column. I thought, I'm just thinking of that.
Oh, okay.
median vote. Okay.
Does anybody want to keep it in?
I think it's worth keeping it in as this exercise.
Okay.
If everything on that list comes in at a medium,
Yeah, right, then we pull it.
then we delete the column. But I think what I'm looking for the outliers.
Yeah, exactly,
I'm looking for.
exactly, and the
on
patterns,
On
you
the,
know?
on the one side, I want the things that, have a lot of tax revenue potential, and the other side, low impact to the community.
Yeah,
But most things are gonna fit in the middle.
Well, look at the next one, funeral home, when it comes to parking. There are those wonderful people that pass that have a lot of people coming to see, and then there's never enough parking.
yeah,
And you're waiting in line an hour or so.
but then it's,
So
you know,
does
few and
a
far
funeral
between.
home, have a high demand for parking then?
That's a good question.
Occasionally.
So that's,
Yeah, so it doesn't really fit our whole, low, medium, high.
right, no, we were talking about
Rating.
outliers, I just said, okay, this is the next one.
Okay, pollution.
Come on, Carol, make the joke. Oh, look, the daycare or something.
No, I'm just on water usage with that one.
I think low.
I'm in favor of low, low.
Yeah.
Then what's a medium?
I'm
That's a
in
good
favor of
question.
medium because
Yeah.
they're neutral in my mind. They're not bad and they're not good.
What would be low? If that were a medium, what would be low?
Self-storage would be low. I'm gonna say,
Oh, good point, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
I see your
Yeah.
in daycare, I think I'm voting for medium, but it could be higher than you think, because there's a whole lot of idle in your car while you go in and get your kid and keep your car warm. But I still think it's a medium.
I never left my
You
car
shouldn't be
running.
idling your car.
I wish nobody would have their car. Lots of people.
Shut off and you lock it too, so don't,
Yeah,
Lots of people are out there idling.
no, there were a lot of break-ins at that, a few years ago in that parking lot.
oh, here's one that can differentiate. Noise outside building. Hi.
Going in sometimes it was pretty noisy. I don't wanna go today.
Office, would you say low or medium?
Medium.
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 Okay. Competes with other town businesses.
I still don't understand.
I don't even know.
So for, would daycare be high since there are like 3 or 4 of them in our town?
Well, I mean, no, it's medium. I mean, there are plenty of office buildings in town, but an office building is just one of many. Daycare is one of many.
There's not a glut of either. I think
Oh.
is.
Yeah, excess, yeah. I don't even know if this
Oh, okay.
column is gonna mean anything ultimately.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't want to do your first impression of what zone it should be?
No. Has to be each of
That's
you
gotta be
individually.
Oh, we should, transparency.
All right,
Okay,
that's helpful to me. I'm glad we did that.
yeah, I'm glad we did this too. This is not perfect, this whole exercise, it's not
fine.
perfect, but it's gonna give us a relative sense of the consensus in this room
Are you gonna forward this to
Yep.
us with this baseline?
with this information in it.
Oh, good, I was gonna take a picture now, I don't have to.
No, you don't have to. Actually, Elaine is going to forward it to you, because this is not my computer.
No, I was just doing one together.
I am going to come back over there.
Trying to figure it out.
Okay. So, Elaine, if you could forward that spreadsheet, I made some changes on some of the top attributes, and actually, in most of the attributes in the business categories, I've made a few changes. But if you could forward that to all of us, as soon as possible after this meeting, so people have a long time to work on it, that would be great. And then, if each of you can return it to me, I will follow up with an email to everybody, because, you know, we have 2 missing people too. I'll follow up with an email to everyone, just kind of reiterating the whole, the methods we're using, you know, relative and that sort of thing, and that you should return it to me ideally on the weekend before, like Saturday or Sunday before our next meeting, so I have a little bit of time to compile it. Okay? And if you don't have time to do that, that's fine. It's just, we'll deal with it as best we can. All right.
And just before you leave this topic, I did look up the unemployment rate.
Mhm.
So in December, it was 2.1%.
2.1.
2.1%.
Wow.
And also the
Wow.
number of the citizen voting age population, so 18 and over who's a citizen, would be 11,455.
Say again?
11,455.
And how many showed up for a special town meeting?
I was gonna say how many are registered.
Do you know when they do the unemployment
Town
rate,
clerk would know.
what age they're looking at?
Pardon me?
What age they're looking at when they count the unemployment?
It's 16 and over.
16 and over?
I had 2 unemployed in my house, both my daughters.
I was gonna say, I wonder if it's actually less.
They over
people.
16?
One turned 21 last week. 21 and 17. I know,
You don't see them. I think
Wow.
they still got little babies.
I know.
Okay.
I used to bring them to these, after bringing them, my younger one to one of these, 12 years ago, she said, I never want to go to a meeting again.
To one of these?
One of these, yeah, it was years ago.
My husband was watching it on video, like, one of our first few meetings, and made my son watch it, and he's like, when I got home, it is so boring!
They don't do in government anymore, they don't make the kids come anymore to meetings, do they?
No.
It scares them away.
That was Mrs. Clark. Oh, Mom, I gotta go sit in your meeting.
They say the same thing when they sit in business meetings with us, at work. Okay, so the other thing we were going to look at, and I confess I have not read through this entire best practices model for streamlined
This is
local
great.
permitting. But I really do think that we need to each do so and take notes and highlight things that we think are useful for all of us to look at for Town of Hopkinton. But at the last meeting, we talked about getting some feedback from other committees and just, getting ideas about whether 43D that we talked about last time is something we want to look at, or whether it's more of an expedited permitting within, within all of our, not a 43D situation, but within everything that we do. And if there's any specific things that anyone has heard from either businesses or residents about our permitting process that needs work. So I'll let you start.
On the streamlined local permitting from MARPA, I mean, the date on this is November 30th, 2007. It seems a little dated to me.
There are a few things that have changed legal-wise since this, but for the most part, it's good.
It still would help, I'm reading through this stuff, with the single point of contact and some of these other recommendations are just great.
And the other question, they listed the areas that were part of this, regional planning agencies. I'm just wondering which of these Hopkinton is part of?
Metropolitan Area Planning Council.
MAPC. And who attends that?
The town has a representative, I believe it's Claire Wright. And then I attend, or the planner, when we have planners, they attend the sub-regional meetings in our southwest.
So, all right, now back to the expedited permitting. I mean, the unanimous feedback from the chamber was time to permit is an absolutely critical thing in attracting businesses to the community. So anything that we can do to help businesses navigate the labyrinth of zoning areas and getting through from application to permit would help us to attract more businesses to town. And we discussed the 43D as an option, and the observations were, well, why don't we try to identify one parcel and try it?
Yep.
I
Which is
think
what we were
I think
talking
the,
about.
the parcel down off Main Street, the Liberty Mutual, would be a fine parcel if you wanted to try it. But I don't know what,
But even some of these other things, you know, like single point of contact, a user's guide for local permitting. You know what I mean? That's something, oh, we do have one?
I was gonna say, I thought we made one of those.
Flow charts and checklists. You know, it just makes, makes, you know, so people know about it. You know, it's, you know, I do building permits in other towns, and Hopkinton's not a part of this last one, but you put all your information into one town, and then you're in for another 12 or 15 towns. So you just go in, you just drop a number in, boom, you get your building permit quickly. You know, it just.
I'm sorry, you put it in one town and it shows up in,
You put it in one town, and then all of your information, your bonding, your insurance, and everything else, it's already in the system. So
in that one town.
No, it goes over another dozen different towns. So I did one in Watertown, and now I'm covered in like Ashland and Holliston and Hopedale, you know, of several other towns, because they're all in on this database. And it's just good for contractors, just on that side of it, you know, and there might be some more of these things that Hopkins can join up. Do we have online,
We've tried, I think, 3 or 4 different vendors, and we have another one that I think we're looking at trying, but it's hard to find the right one.
you know, where you can fill out all your building permits and stuff online, send it right in, and then it's done a lot quicker. And it doesn't use up town personnel as much, that they have to, you know, look through this handwritten one and make triplicate copies, and everybody gets one. And it's just a lot more efficient.
I did have a follow-up question for you, Ron, and that was, you said time to permit is critical. Makes sense. Does the chamber have a sense of how we are compared to other nearby communities? Feel free.
There was in that report we had.
Natick is significantly worse than we are, but we're in the same ballpark.
Okay.
It doesn't have a reputation as being a business-friendly community. And the ironic thing is that ultimately, people that apply for permits generally get to what they're looking for ultimately. It's just the amount of time and the number of meetings and continuances that they have to go through that is extremely costly to a small business person that's trying to get something done. And it does, you know, it just makes it hard.
Okay.
And I'm personally stunned that we have any vacancies at all on South Street or in any of our industrial zones based on the perfect location that we have here. And yet, almost every building on South Street has some vacancies in it. And it's just like, how is that even possible? And I think part of it is that we're perceived as being tough to do business with. And that's strictly coming from a business applicant, not a residential development, but from a business side.
Okay.
well, even the process for the TIF approval was long and hard.
And
Town meeting.
I thought we expedited it.
No, not the getting it to town meeting, but the time in town meeting and the questions that were asked that really had no bearing on whether or not we should give them a TIF or.
But the zoning process can't control those types of things.
No, that's true.
No,
That's
true.
That's true.
That's open town meeting is going to happen. But if we, as John was saying, if we can take a look at some of these best practices, and when I look at the town website and go through the the main things on the page, there's nothing in there about permitting, zoning, anything to do. So it's just not, it's not welcoming or friendly. And that's just the starting point. To try to find anything about it, you really have to, and this is the new website.
Ria was talking about that too, about other towns and how easy it is to navigate through their web page.
Okay, good. So I definitely want to spend a lot more time on this, but I think that all of us need to read the available materials and, you know, make some notes about what we think are things that we can focus on. I think it would be really helpful, Elaine, if we got copies of the user guide that is available in Hopkinton now, for permitting, or any flow charts and things like that that we have. And I know that, you know, one of the planning board members is taken on a project of, you know, improving certain aspects of the website, the town website, in relation to planning board activities. So this is something that we can utilize, you know, as a pathway to improvements. So.
Mary, I've not taken this to Concom. We had one meeting and we started a half hour early because the agenda was so packed, and then we stuck around after the senior center should have closed, so I didn't try to cram it in.
That's fine.
I did email the chair, plus Don McAdam, plus Anna. However, I won't be at the next meeting. I'll also, by the way, miss this next meeting. So I said to Don in the email, if you guys want to discuss it, email me stuff. I could email it back to this committee from the Dominican, or they might put it off to the meeting following. I told them there's no real rush right now. I don't think we're about to do anything in the next week or two. But anyway, that's where I am with Concom as far as discussing it.
Okay, thank you. Probably at the next meeting, we're going to be spending a lot of time on our matrix.
Okay.
And we may have a little time at the end to talk about, you know, what people have been able to research on this expedited permitting topic. But I don't expect that we're going to do more than just, you know, have a very short discussion on it next time. So, yeah, so anything you find out, you know, anyone else, including, you know, just talk to your local business people or other business people that you know, just so to get thoughts on permitting process. Be great. I've never had to go through it myself, so. Okay. We need to approve the minutes from last time. Anyone have any comments on them? They look fine to me. They look fine to me too. We got your name right, Ted?
What's that? I do look for my name every time.
Good.
I didn't see any problems.
Good. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, we've approved something. Yeah, that was it for our agenda. And I'm going to go through the work plan over the next couple of weeks too, to see if we can insert any other shorter shorter term discussion items, so we can keep feeding the planning board with stuff. But otherwise, these large projects, I really appreciate everybody doing homework outside, because these are not the kind of things that we can just come to the meeting and discuss off the top of our heads and get anywhere. So it's really important. Thank you. Do we need to do the official closing the meeting?
Do we want to talk about the meeting after the 18th? I think we only have one.
Oh, we only have one on these, yeah. Yeah, let's confirm that. Thank you. Okay, so we have the 18th, and the next one should be April Fool's Day. Is there any other town meeting that interferes? Town committee meeting?
At this point, no.
Okay. So April 1st? Okay for everyone?
What day is it on?
Monday.
Oh, Monday, okay, that's good.
Okay.
And the 15th?
And then April 15th, no, that's spring
Holiday.
break. And, yeah, and Patriots' Day, right? So we would not be meeting on the 15th.
And tax day.
And tax day. Everything all at once. Okay.
Not tax day here.
Yeah, we got a bonus day again. I feel like every year we're getting bonus days here. in
Seems like it.
Massachusetts.
Since Patriots Day is
How
the
it
third
keeps landing
Monday.
that way, but I'll take it.
Okay.
So 22nd, are we looking at?
No, because that's a planning board meeting.
No?
So it would have to be the 29th.
Is that a month off?
No.
Just about, 4 weeks.
Almost, really.
29th is the EHOP
That
Know
is
Your
so
Vote.
soon. I need to plan college trips.
Oh, yeah, we can't compete with that.
No.
I'll be at EHOP.
I'll be at,
April 29th?
You better
So
be.
why?
So April 29th works as well?
no, that's
No, it does
EHOP.
not.
It's what?
EHOP.
Know your vote.
Oh. I don't even have it on my calendar. What do you mean?
Should be on everybody.
Okay, we're gonna have to look at other days then, but,
Right, can we get a consensus at our next?
yeah,
Wanna
let's
do
do
it?
that. I don't have my calendar well enough, in late April to figure it out.
What time does it
We'll talk
start?
about it next time.
What time does Know Your Vote start? You know?
I think we'll do it on a Saturday night, we'll go to Apex and have a meeting there.
That's a great
I
idea.
know Ted loves that.
Carol, too.
While I'm doing service work in the Dominican, it'll be a fine meeting for me.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are closed. Thank you.
Where in the Dominican you going?